Walks onto stage. Good whatever, lady and gentlemen. I thought I would do something a little different. A trilogy review. That is, a review of 3 films, with a common thread. Within a genre. And in this case the Cornetto Trilogy. 3 films starring Simon Pegg, with Nick Frost as the co-star. And written by Simon Pegg and Edgar Wright. Other than these characteristics, the 3 films have little in common. Though they are all based in the United Kingdom, and comedies. Pauses. Simon plays 3 characters. Shaun, Nicholas Angel, Gary King. While Nick plays 3 characters. Ed, Danny Butterman, and E. Knightley. You would have thought more imaginative names might have been used to blend the trilogy together. But you would be wrong, as even the Cornetto theme itself appears as an afterthought. With the 3 flavors of Cornetto being strawberry, vanilla or original flavor, and mint. As well as Simon and Nick, Martin Freeman makes an appearance in all 3 films, with his major role being in The World's End. The 3 Musketeers are Simon, Nick and Edgar, who work together in the television series, Spaced, in which Simon plays Tim Bursley, a comic book artist, and Nick, Mike, Tim's territorial army friend. Interestingly, Simon and Nick are friends and ex-housemates in real life, who share a love of the genres and fictional characters, traits. Paul, the film, starring Simon and Nick, about 2 comic and science fiction fanatics meeting Paul, the alien, on a road trip in the United States, was not part of the Cornetto Trilogy. Although Paul was released before the end of the Cornetto Trilogy in 2011. Pauses. Oh yeah, almost forgot. Spoilers. Smirks. Before we move on to the reviews, I would like to propose a change in the order of play. Having watched the 3 films in chronological sequence of release, I suggest watching them in their correct order. Chronological order. The order of the rainbow. The order of increasing frequency of their assigned colors. Red, green, and blue. I think you will be pleasantly surprised. And maybe get in a few cornettos, with which to refresh yourself during the viewing. Pauses. Shaun of the Dead is a horror comedy. Smirks. Do you want anything from the shop? Cornetto. It starts the Cornetto Trilogy, as it means to go on. Shaun of the Dead revolves around the relationship between Shaun and his girlfriend, Liz. Can I get any of you cunts a drink? And his friend, Ed. Pauses. Shaun and Ed share a house with another friend. They enjoy playing computer games and going down the pub, the Winchester. Shaun works as a team in an electrical store and enjoys a nice cup of tea. Milk. No sugar. The impending doom of the zombie apocalypse starts off as a background noise, with Shaun and Ed poking fun at the zombies before they realize they are zombies. The actual living dead. It's not hip-hop, it's electro. Prick. Throughout the film there are callbacks to earlier comments, characters and situations. A style deployed by Edgar Wright in a unique way, making the Cornetto Trilogy a pleasant, easy-to-follow jaunt through pop culture. Once Shaun and Ed realize they are living in a zombie movie, they quickly man up. Pauses. As Bertrand Russell once said, the only thing that will redeem mankind is cooperation. I think we can all appreciate the relevance of that now. Smirks. There are a few memorable scenes, and Shaun's zombie walk to the shops for a Coke, and Cornetto stands out as a classic piece of cinematography. The realization that everyone Shaun loves could be affected, focuses Shaun on his mother and girlfriend. And the rest of the film becomes about the couple airing their grievances, getting to know each other better, and coming to terms with their relationship. Whilst all around people are dying, and they are fighting for their life, and the lives of the people they love. The use of blunt weapons, and even the Winchester rifle, on the zombies, is never overdone. And always done for effect. Ed is the only zombie survivor of the group, with the rest ending up proper dead. The mocking of the zombies to reach the Winchester pub is another memorable moment, used in other films and series as a means of escape. The mocking tone in Shaun of the Dead is hilarious, and the soap-style conversations had, at critical points, amusing. The film ends, as all zombie films end, with 1 or 2 survivors, and everyone else zombified. Smirks. Next up. Hot Fuzz. Mr. Treacher's got his big coat on again. Want anything from the shop? Cornetto. Pauses. Hot Fuzz is a what-if, buddy cop movie. Based in the United Kingdom. The village of Sanford, or in real life, Wells, is a cathedral city in Somerset, the West Country of England, where the fictional pirate accent derives from. Nick Frost plays Nicholas Angel, a career constable, married to the job, and overperforming so much his colleagues want him retired. Which is a cultural joke about public servants. Like the worst public servants always fail up. Nicholas is forced to relocate to Sanford, where the biggest criminals are crusty jugglers and living statues. If we don't come down hard on these clowns, we'll be up to our balls in jugglers. Hot Fuzz revolves around the relationship between Danny Butterman and his father, Inspector Frank Butterman, and Nicolas Cage's exposure of the secret organization responsible for the hidden crime wave. On the eve of the adjudicator's arrival, some travelers moved into Callahan Park. Before you could say gypsy scum, we were knee-deep in dog muck, thieving kids, and crusty jugglers. We lost the title, and Irene lost her mind. Pauses. Nicolas Cage meets Danny on his first night in Sanford, arresting him and half the village, even before he had formally started work as a village bobby in a quiet village. Danny introduces Nicholas to the action movie by the power of Grayskull, and the action hero's one-liner, which is used to good effect throughout the film, along with the trilogy's foreshadowing and repeated dialogue. Pauses. You don't know how to switch off. When Nicholas and Danny attend a simple hedge trimming dispute at a local farm, they are introduced to Arthur Webley, a local gun-toting farmer. In order to communicate with Arthur, they require the services of PC Bob Walker, the dog division and local dialect translator. Pauses. Oh, and Mr. Webley, I trust you have a license for that. Points at shotgun. Oh, I does for these I does for these He does for this one. What do you mean by this one? Pauses. This shit just got real. Pauses. You're off a fucking chain. Pauses. There's a short action sequence when the sea mine starts ticking. But since there was no boom, they assume the mine is disarmed. They call in for backup and move the arsenal back to the police station, putting everything in the evidence room, including the sea mine. Rolls eyes. As expected, most of Nicholas' time is spent with passing the time and trivial crimes. No luck catching them swans then. It's just the one swan actually. Coincidentally, the hotel Nicholas stays at is called the Swan. Pauses. When people start dying under odd circumstances, Nicholas begins to suspect murder and a cover-up. Seen any murderings? Nicole asks Simon Skinner and his large trolley boy, Michael Yarping Armstrong. Pauses. The whole film is littered with top actors. For example, Skinner is played by Timothy Dalton, an ex-James Bond. And Rory McCann is better known as the Hound in the Game of Thrones. Pauses. Two blokes and a fuckload of cutlery. Smirks. When Nicholas confides in Danny over his suspicions about his father, the Hound tries to kill him, and everything comes to a head. It's all about the greater good, the greater good. Up to this point, the story has been, very much, an English whodunit, along the lines of Midsomer Murders, Inspector Morose, and Miss Marple. Smirks. You wanna be a big cop in a small town? Fuck off, up the model village. Pauses. But Nicholas Angel is a new breed of cop. For a new kind of age. I didn't know we had a mounted division playing on the High Plains Drifter in the West Country. The ensuing shootout escalates, with Nicholas and Danny taking fire from the village's co-conspirators, using a wide variety of firearms. For a shootout, with so many rounds being fired, there were few casualties and 0 fatalities. You're a doctor. Deal with it. Pauses. At this point Danny is all in with Nicholas against the inspector, his father, as are the rest of the police officers. And they all set off to clean up the village. The callbacks are used to good effect to illustrate character arcs for all the characters. Small details missed in many films. The threading of story lines into key moments in the film adds to the humor and overall frivolity, with the callbacks to action movies used to pay homage and parody, adding significant depth to the overall plot. Hot Fuzz ends with a pause before a large callback boom. Clearly Sanford will not be winning any awards this year. Pauses. There's always next year. Smirks. The World's End is the name of the last pub in a pub crawl through Newton Haven, Gary King's hometown. Most reviews place The World's End as the less of the three films. This is probably due to the suicidal nature of the plot. Gary King is stuck on level 1 of his life, having never made anything of his life, even though he was the king at school. In his own mind, following an attempted suicide, Gary decides to go on a suicide mission with his old school friend enablers. Unfortunately for him, they have grown up, and his former drinking partner, Andy Knightley, is a teetotaler. I can't believe this, a man of your legendary prowess drinking fucking rain. It's like seeing a lion eating some hummus. Pauses. Part of the plot is about school friends touching base after a few years of leaving and comparing notes. The pub crawl is Gary's idea, a challenge that he personally failed but needs to succeed at to move on with his life or death. And he needed his friends to help him on his journey. The idea of pub crawls is English, like cricket, rugby, and football. They involve wandering from drinking establishment to drinking establishment, partaking in a single beverage in each. Like extreme version of a canal holiday. Pause. The World's End pub is actually called the Gardener's Arms in Letchworth Garden City. And yes, the United Kingdom's first roundabout is in Letchworth Garden City. Smirks. Gary's plan is simple: do the pub crawl of 12 pubs and move on with his life. Job done. However, as the evening progresses, Gary begins to realize his life is not what he thought it was, and that the town he grew up in is no longer the same, with each pub they enter looking more or less the same, like a Starbucks, making the point of the pub crawl more pointless than ever. Why not just drink 12 pints of whatever in the first pub? Rolls eyes. Things get weirder than even large volumes of alcohol and drugs can create. After Gary accidentally knocks off a teenager's head in the gents following an altercation. Let's boo-boo. Pauses. Boo-boo. What is that? You remember? Let's boo-boo. On the wall of Mr. Shepard's classroom, it used to say, "Exit, pursued by bear." Smirks. From this point on, the film is horror science fiction, with everyone in the town being a blank other than 3 unmulchable humans. Pauses. As with Shaun of the Dead, the threat is there, though subverted into a passive non-threatening threat, with some of the victims remaining alive, in a sense. This jittering allows the narrative to be unfixed, allowing for more possibilities. Pauses. The one annoying tell was Oliver's birthmark. Birthmarks are not generic, they are part of the birthing process, making the blank with a birthmark not a generic copy. You could put this down to poor understanding by the characters of the technology being used by the blanks. So, is not a plot hole. Smirks. Gary reaches his journey's end, the world's end, like he is in a computer game. But Andy spoils the final pint, and the two spill their guts emotionally, with Gary confessing his attempted suicide. Ironically, Gary pulling his final pint leads them to the big lamp in charge of the blanks. Pauses. At this point your planet is the least civilized in the entire galaxy. What did he say? He said we are a bunch of fuck-ups. It is our basic human right to be fuck-ups. This civilization was founded on fuck-ups. And you know what? That makes me proud. Gary manages, through his drunken haze, to explain to the big lamp why it is pointless to civilize Earth. To err is human. I think you bit off more than you can chew, with Earth mate. Yeah, because we're more belligerent, more stubborn, and more idiotic than you could ever imagine. Pauses. Oh fuck off, you big lamp. Rolls eyes. It is pointless arguing with you. You will be left to your own devices. And the big lamp fucks off, blowing up Newton Haven as it goes. The end of The World's End is like a fantasy movie roll-up, narrating where the remaining characters end up, with Gary ending up with his blank school friends, and Andy pining for cornettos. And so ends the Cornetto Trilogy. Shaun of the Dead, a horror comedy. Hot Fuzz, a action comedy. And The World's End, a science fiction comedy. Pauses. Oh yeah. Fence jumping. What's the matter? Never taken a shortcut before. And it is here that you see the significance of chronological order, as it is only in Hot Fuzz that Simon Pegg's character succeeds in jumping the fence. Pauses. With any style, piece I am out of here. Word up. Exits. Pursued by a bear.